Hello, my name is Angelo Lopez. I am a Filipino-American editorial cartoonist in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I have the distinct honor and privilege to speak to two esteemed cartoonists in the East Coast. You're both in the East Coast, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Ray Billingsley and Walt Carr. Let me tell you a little bit about both of them. Ray Billingsley created the comic strip Curtis. He attended the School of Visual Arts. He interned at the Disney Studios in 1979. You did the comic strip Looking Fine from 1980 to 1982. And in October 1988, you started your comic strip Curtis. In the year 2000, you won the Humanitarian Award from the American Lung Association, right? And in
Yes.
2020, you won the Reuben Award. The Reuben Award is a prestigious cartoonist award from the National Cartoonist Society. Congratulations for that.
Thank you. Thank you on
Okay.
that.
Yeah. And Walt Carr is now a recently retired editorial cartoonist, right? In 1960, you were the illustrator for the Social Security Administration visual graphics section. You did gag cartooning for Playboy and the Black Press, among the periodicals Ebony, Jet, Players, Negro Digest, Metropolitan, and Black World. And in 1993, you switched from gag cartooning to editorial cartoons for black newspapers around the country. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. And I think the first thing I want to start is both of you have books. Now, Walt, right now you're working on a book collection with a collection of your editorial cartoons. Could you tell me about this your book and tell me when do you think it's about what time should it be published?
I finally finished the editing last week. About the middle of last week, I did about 4 edits. I had over 1,100 cartoons to select from.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
And I had come down to, I think it's like 193, 195 cartoons.
Okay.
And the difference this time is for my first book, Just Us, which was all political cartoons with a Black point of view, from a Black perspective, a Black spin. This will be a mixture of political cartoons and the old regular gag cartoons that I did for years. So
Oh, okay.
that's the major difference. I wrestled with several titles. I'm not going to disclose the name of the title right now because I'm scared somebody might steal it.
Oh, okay.
But I wrestled with several of them, and I was talking to the people that I've dealt with 3 years ago when Just Us came out, and I'm going to be delivering those cartoons, hopefully, man, in the next week, and get started. And hopefully, it'll be coming out in by August. I'm shooting for August. Is a launching date. Yeah.
If somebody wants to buy it, where do they go to Amazon?
It will be available as it is Just Us on Amazon.
Oh, okay, okay.
Amazon is available right now on Amazon. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so it will be available on Amazon.
Okay.
But there's so many details. I don't have an agent. I'm still almost like the new kid in the block. I call myself the hustling geezer because I'm doing everything.
Okay.
And I want to make it easier this time. And I have done some shortcuts and what have you, but it's hopefully I'm shooting for August.
Okay. Okay. And Ray, Walt was talking about Amazon. I looked up Amazon. Two of the comic collections of Curtis are on Amazon. Could you tell me about those two books?
Which ones are they?
Hold on. Let me look up Amazon right now.
You know what? I don't even know because I was with Amazon for a while and I didn't really like the policy, so I yanked them off.
Oh,
And
no. There's still some in Ray Billingsley. Yeah, it's still there and stuff. Hold on. Let me see.
is that a boy named Curtis?
Yeah, I
Living
don't
on
see it anymore. Maybe it's not there anymore. Hold on.
Right, right.
Oh, okay.
You have to get them directly from my website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I wasn't crazy about Amazon. I wasn't crazy about the amount of money they were taking. So I
Oh,
said, I could do
is it
this
too big of a
myself.
percentage, I guess, or?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I
Okay.
mean, it's a big percentage if you don't sell a few books every month. You know,
Uh,
I always look for profit. So,
oh,
it,
to be honest, I didn't. This is one of the reasons I'm talking to you because I didn't know that and stuff. So tell me about your books anyway. How do you get
well,
it into the website? What are your books and stuff?
well,
Just
the website is www.billingsleyart.com. And it's a website that I really need to update. I'm sort
oh,
of like Walt on that part. You know, it's so busy and I just haven't gotten into it. But you could order the books directly from there.
yeah.
And there's three of them, rather large books. One is A Boy Named Curtis. That's the first. The second is Living on Sponge Cake. And the third is Friends, Family, and Other Catastrophes.
Oh,
And
okay.
that rounds out the three. Uh, I had two paperback books by Ballantine back in the days when we had the little pocket-sized books,
Yeah.
and of course they're way out of print, and people are trying to get those like wildfire. They're collector's items. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, I see people that they ask me about it. You know, they're searching, they're searching. I saw one little like ridiculous ad. Somebody was selling one of them, and it was like $800. And mind
Wow.
you, these books were like 90 cents when they first came out. So I was thinking about it this way. Usually, those are the kind of prices that artists get when they die. You
Uh,
know, so
no, but I'm wondering, since you've done your stuff since the 80s and stuff, you've
yeah.
developed a really loyal following and stuff. So I can understand that and stuff.
You know, it's kind of funny. I don't really think about the following and things like that. Just like with Walt, if you sort of think about all the people that's reading it, it can be sort of intimidating. You
Oh,
get sort of nervous because anybody can be reading it. I mean, I've gotten fan mails from celebrities that I never would have thought was reading it, and all that does is put like extra pressure on me. I heard that Bill Watterson likes to read it, and he does Calvin and Hobbes. And I'm like, oh,
uh,
thanks for telling me this. The best script, and now he's reading it. So that's just extra pressure on me to be good every day.
oh,
You know, you,
okay.
you can't be good every day, but I try to get more hits than misses. And mind you, and Walt can tell you this also. Being the black cartoonist, we need to have more hits than
Yeah,
misses. We can't take that for granted.
yeah, yeah. Well, that kind of leads to one of the questions I had and stuff. I did some research on YouTube to see, what your previous talks are like. And I saw a talk you did, Ray, with Barbara Brandon Croft and Richard Prince,
Hmm.
where the three of you talked about how important it was for there to be representation in comics. Now, for
Yeah.
both of you, why is representation important in the cartoonist field?
But Walt, you can go first, and I can copy your answer.
Oh, it's very important to me, a very simple reason. There's a lot of non-white talent out there, black, brown, whatever, people who have the talent. And thank God today, there are much more platforms to show your work than
Yeah.
just the printed page. And a lot of it, which is, like I told you earlier, is beyond me because I'm so technologically challenged. I'm sure but they do exist. I'm just finding out in the last 3 or 4 years since I did the book. There's so many different platforms and there's so many talented people out there. As a matter of fact, if I have my numbers right, I can only think of 4 non-white or black cartoonists
Yeah,
in syndicated. That's Curtis
that's about it.
and
Art,
Jumpstart with Rob Armstrong, Canterville with Darren Bell,
Bell, right?
and
Yeah.
a cat just came out last week
Oh,
who I'd never heard of, with a strip black guy named Tahid.
Right.
Eat bundia with a strip called crabgrass. That just makes 4.
Well, there's another one. There's one more. A fellow named Stephen Bentley from out in
Bentley,
California.
right.
He
And
does.
what's the because I get the Washington Post and the Baltimore Sun, and he's not in either one, but he has been in one of them because that's where I know him.
He does Herb and Jamal.
Herb and Jamal, you're right.
Right. But other than that, since Aaron Magruder left and Barbara's gone,
and Barbara's gone,
cut our numbers down. So
well, actually, so far as numbers are concerned, since I'm so old, I had to make notes. Well, roughly, there's 41 or 42 comic strips in the Washington Post, and I think there's only 2 in there. You and Darren Bell in Canterville, and in the Baltimore Sun, which has like 19 strips, there's only 1. And no, I'm sorry, now it's 2 with this new guy.
Yeah,
and that's an imbalance that's been going on for too long. I mean, of course, being syndicated was always being dominated by white cartoonists, starting from back when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now it's so much talent out there. I'm not sure that the playing field is still even as it should be.
Yeah. I want to promote Barbara. She just recently released a collection of her cartoons and stuff. So Barbara Brandon Croft. So she's not. I think she's on Instagram right now. So but now I don't think she's in the papers right now. So
I tried to get a ride over to DC because a few weeks ago she had a book signing at a bookstore in Washington DC, and I live in Columbia, Maryland, which is about 45 minutes or so from DC. And I couldn't get that ride that I needed on a Sunday. My wife has obligations; she couldn't drive me, and I still drive, but I don't like to be on the road. There's too crazy people out there. I can't fight anymore.
Well, isn't the weather bad too right now? Isn't there like storms there right now in the East Coast or no?
In the South, not in the Mid Atlantic, not in Northeast, such as Arkansas and Alabama and Mississippi. We had some rain. It's a beautiful day today.
Yeah, but it's nice and sunny.
It's actually sunny, but the dearth of black or non-white cartoonists is still horrendous.
Yeah,
it's horrendous below. It really is. It's a lot of talent out there. Trust me.
And see, it's like this. The hood isn't short on talent.
No.
The hood is short on resources.
And intervention.
I've heard from a lot of guys who like to draw, and I mean, these guys are thugs.
Yeah.
All right. I see their pictures. I see the things they draw about. They draw about the things that's happening with gang life and all that.
Yeah.
And they're very good. They're very good.
Yeah.
But it's just that they don't know what to do with it. They don't know where to go with it. And most likely mainstream isn't going to pick them up anyway. Right. Their biggest chance is Facebook, social media. That's about it. And you're not going to make any money from that. So usually they have to go back to do what they do to survive, to make money. Cartooning is fun, but you can't keep it up if you're paying these high rents and these high mortgages. You got to do what you have to do. And a lot of time with the guys in the hood, sometimes that means selling drugs, some illegal things that no other choice.
Yeah.
I worked in recreation for 4 years.
Okay.
At recreation centers in the hood in Baltimore City, where I was born.
Yeah.
One of the upsides is, aside from table games and sports, basketball, horseshoes, there were a few recreation centers where there was actually arts and crafts classes, and I was able to teach arts and crafts and cartooning and illustration.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not enough. There's only about a third of the recreation centers today in Baltimore that were there between 1955 and 1960. Yeah. And the upside to that is, not only could you be teaching art classes, and there were a few dance classes, but I think about recreation centers and community centers being places where interest groups could go in, where kids could see professionals and successful Black people that came from the same background that are now engineers, cyberspace, doctors, nurses, the whole 9 yards. You could utilize that community center for that intervention that these kids so desperately need. to
Right.
see those people that look exactly like them, and a lot of them coming from the same background. I don't go to college without the finances by my grandfather. That's how broke we were.
Yeah.
I
So
was
I was one of the lucky ones, really, really.
You
I
know
worked
what?
in the library.
I only went to school. I only went to the School of Visual Arts because I got a scholarship. Otherwise, I did not have the money to go to college. And
There you go.
yeah, I mean, it's not like the politicians say, go ask your father for the money to go to school. It was not like that in my house. We grew up in poverty.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, you know, I did without a lot, and I was on my own at 17, so I wasn't out of high school yet. So I was working steady, doing freelance, and I mean, I was living off of freelance.
I remember.
And, I mean, that's rough. Now, Walt, you know what it's like to freelance.
Yeah.
I mean, you really gotta walk the pavement. You hopefully you get a job. You're waiting for the next job, and you're waiting to get paid from a previous job. That's
Right.
how it is. And you know, it's something I used to tell people, and I tell them now, being a cartoonist meant you had no social life because you were always trying to work. You know,
That sounds exhausting.
it is. It is. You have to be ready for this business.
Ray, you just hit on something that I've got to bring up. I thought about it earlier, something you said. Before I went into the editorial cartoons, I decided I had a strip idea, and Creator Syndicate had just come out, and they were giving better deals to the cartoonists, what have you, than the old original syndicates. And I had a strip about a young man who was just moving out into his first apartment, out from under the family nest with his mother and father and his younger brother. Anyway, I sent some strips to creators, and they responded. They wanted to see some more. But when I got that, that's when the reality set in. It scared me to death, because I said, you have to be reasonably funny for 365 days.
Yeah.
And I'm a social animal. And what you just said about deadlines every day, that takes real commitment. And I didn't have that really burning desire to be taken from the lifestyle that I was living.
Right.
And I sent them some more, and they said they liked them, but they said something about they didn't feel they could market them at that time. And I just dropped that altogether. And that's when I made the decision to start doing it. I started doing the editorial cartoons, which were just one a week, because most black papers only come out, they used to come out twice a week, but they only come out once a week now. And that, for my lifestyle, that fitted me perfectly.
This is the thing I used to do with all comic strips that I was trying to do. If I couldn't come up with 365 gags, I wouldn't do the strip. I wouldn't even start it. Unless I can get a year of ideas,
right?
I wouldn't even start it. Wouldn't be worth it, because you want your first year to be the easiest.
Right.
And what a lot of people don't realize is that the longer you do these things, the harder it becomes. Because I'm an artist, and I don't want to do the same thing over and over and over.
Right.
I don't know how a lot of these cartoons really get through it. I think it's just a paycheck for them. You know, they do the same things over and over and over for the past 20 years.
Right.
And that would drive me nuts, man.
Yeah.
What I do, I'll do some topics, and they become popular for a while, and then I get bored.
Right.
I drop them, you know, and then I'm on to something else. But
that to me, that shows integrity in your part.
Yeah, it
Because
does.
you really care about your comic strip, and you care about your read. You know,
I
if
want
you
to
wanted
read
to
it.
write it in and stuff, that shows a lack of respect to your readers.
Yeah.
You're growing with
I
your
would think.
readers.
I have several rules and guidelines that I really follow, and one of them is like doing a Sunday page. A Sunday page has to be an idea that cannot be said in a daily. And I mean, I do 4 panels in a daily, so I do about 10 panels Sunday, and it has to be special enough to fit a Sunday, or else, you know, it won't be done.
Okay.
And believe me, these deadlines are brutal, but I have missed a couple of them because I I could be working on something and I say this doesn't work, and you know I don't like this, and I chuck the whole thing. And the people at the syndicate say, "Oh, Ray, just throw together anything, just do anything." And I said, you know, I can't really do that.
You have standards.
You have too much pride in
And
your work,
also,
right?
also
Yes.
because we are representing. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
We're representing for Black folk. So, like I said, we need more hits than misses. I'm all about inspiration.
Right.
So
there you go. Keyword.
I want people to see this and say, wow, I want to pick this up where this guy's left off. I want to join the ranks, you know, because we're not that big a breed. And I mean, we're going. Walt, as you know, years ago, back in the 70s and all that, we were a small group then. And we are losing people. So we need to get, and you know, that bothers me too, because I have to school people about all the cartoonists who aren't with us anymore. And they were never celebrated. They worked their behinds off. They gave really great content. And it's like if somebody doesn't remember them, they will be forgotten. They did not have books, you know, this fellow Buck Brown, he should have definitely had books. He was a fantastic artist. And all around he was a fantastic guy.
Fantastic. I had he was you and
To be honest,
Buck.
I don't know him. Who's Buck Brown?
Oh, well, wait a minute. This is when you don't know Buck Brown, I'm sure that Ray gets as much pleasure out of it as I do. If you ever read Playboy,
No,
if you ever read Playboy, there was an old lady called Granny, white lady, with a long chin, sagging breasts, gray hair with a bun, big favorite, big favorite. I love the lay it on. Most guys I know read Playboy. I said, but did you know it was drawn by a brother?
Right.
Nobody, black or white, knows that Buck Brown was a very talented artist, as Ray said. I have a couple of his prints. But they are flabbergasted when I tell them that guy that you admired for years was a black man, Buck Brown. Check him out, Angelo.
Yeah. What
Brown.
years though? 50s, 60s, 70s? Or?
Oh, wow.
Oh,
yeah, I'd say 60s and 70s.
70s since I've been married through the 90s, because he actually spent the night here. He was also a fraternity brother.
Mm-hmm.
And our the weekend that I had that Black Symposium, when you came down from New York at the museum, Ray.
Right.
He was there. He stayed with me, bought his tuxedo. He went to the Black Tie Affair. And that was in the 90s because I was married then. I had been married by a second time by then. Okay. But he was a great cartoonist, but also a great artist, man. I have two of his that I cherish.
The only way you can find him is through prints, not books.
No.
You can Google him and you can get all the information you need.
You know what? I even have a couple of reprint editions from Playboys. It says it's the best cartoons, you know, of say like 10-year period, things like that. He's not in it. He's not one of his is in it.
In the Playboy publication?
Yep, sure
is. And
is.
he was full page color. You know, he started out black and white.
That's right. That's right. But now I must say this reprint book was all black and white. So maybe that's why he was.
Maybe that's the reason. Okay.
But remember Charles Adams, he did watercolor and all, and sometimes, and Gay and Wilson, sometimes they did color.
Right.
But theirs is in the book. They have theirs in the book, and it's in shades gray.
Shades of gray. Yeah, half tone. Yeah.
It's not color.
It could be done. Yeah.
But
they could have shot color. Yeah.
What I mean is Buck Brown is not. So I mean, it's things, Angelo. It's things like this that we go through all the time.
Yeah.
And just because we're in the business doesn't mean that it's been an easy time for us. It's been hard from day one. And not only are the publications hard on us, we're hard on ourselves.
No, just like.
Do you remember another cartoonist who was present at that symposium I did from Philadelphia named Sam Joyner?
Yes.
Sam Joyner was from He's one of the pioneering cartoonists of color.
That's right.
From Philadelphia. He just died about 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
No.
He said when he started cartooning in the Philadelphia area, he was freelancing, but he used a fake name for the very fact that he knew if the publishers knew he was black, they weren't going to publish it.
Remember,
so he had a fake name.
he told me a story that he had a
Sherman?
white friend take his cartoons in.
Yeah,
because
I remember you
if he'd
telling me
brought
that.
if he'd have brought his cartoons in, they wouldn't have even let him in the office.
Yeah, I read a book about George Herman, the guy who did Crazy Cat. I
Yes,
think he was black, but he passed
was
for
black.
white. And that was the
Right.
only
How
way he
ironic.
could get published, right?
And
How ironic was that one of the
kept-
early icons of cartooning was a
Right.
black man
he
back around
kept his hair.
1916.
He was Creole.
Creole.
and he was very light skinned, and he kept a beret on to cover
Yeah,
his
yeah,
face.
yeah, yeah.
You wouldn't see the nappiness, you know.
You wouldn't see that. You wouldn't see that kinky hair, right?
Yeah, but it's a good book because they said that in some of his comics, he would slyly comment on that and stuff, on
Yeah.
race in his comic,
Right.
but he did it in such a way that because since it was a cat and a mouse and stuff, you didn't really,
Right.
unless you were looking for it, you wouldn't realize it and stuff.
Well,
so.
I can forgive him because that was about survival. Because had they known
Yeah.
he was black, we'd have never gotten that opportunity.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
We'd have
right.
never gotten that opportunity.
Yeah, it's funny. We only have 7 minutes left for this first
Really?
talk. I've only gotten through one question, but I don't mind because you guys are talking about stuff that's really interesting. So, since we're talking about who are your heroes, cartoonist heroes and influences? You talked about a few, but in the 7 minutes, maybe we can talk about that and stuff. But and then after that, I'll download this video and then we can start the next link.
Okay. Walt, you want to do that? Because
Yeah, let me. That's one thing about aging. Everybody's nice to me. But now my early heroes were Will Eisner with the Spirit.
that's my
and
teacher.
His little black sidekick name. When I first discovered it, I was calling him E Boney because I had never heard the word Ebony before. But his drawings, his illustrations, and handling of dark blacks and composition,
Yeah.
excellent. And then, of course, my other big fan was Milt Caniff, who drew Terry and the Pirates.
Yeah.
Right.
And then went on to have, after he split, because I didn't know, and I don't know how many people know that years ago, you could create the strip, but if you had a falling out over money or what have you, you could leave, but you had to leave the strip. And
Right.
I noticed one day that it was being drawn by somebody named George Wonder.
Yeah.
And I already noticed the difference in the drawing style. But show you how good he was, he went on to create Steve Canyon, which was just as big as Terry and the Pirate.
Yeah.
Right.
But those were my two. But then I started selling black newspapers in Baltimore. And then when I moved to Philly, I sold every black paper in Philadelphia. And that's when I discovered my black heroes. Ollie Harrington, who did Bootsy, single panel gag, and the first black female cartoonist, Jackie Orms.
Right.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes.
If I got it right, Ray?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Those are my heroes.
Yeah. I mean, I looked up at all these same people. Will Eisner was actually my instructor at the School of Visual Arts. Yeah, he was my instructor, and he wasn't one to be played with. He was very serious when he came into the classroom, usually late. Everybody just snapped to attention if we got quiet.
Did he have like coffee in his hand when he was late? Or
No. It was all business, just business.
Okay.
And mind you, by this time, I was already like an old vet in the industry. I had been getting published for years and years before I got there.
Right.
I showed him some stuff, and Will Eisner said, so what? He said, what else can you do? And I'm looking like, wow, I've been out, since I was a kid. And this guy's telling me this. So what he did was challenge me. And I like that. I was already used to working real hard anyway. So it was perfect. He would send me back and have me do other things. And then he had me start doing other styles out of my comfort zone. So I started doing like the graphic novel style and doing superhero style.
Right.
And, I owe a lot of that to Will Eisner. I implement that in the strip today. Sometimes I draw some things that look like someone else drew it. That's because he taught me this. He and Schultz gave me great advice. Schultz said, come up with some things that are uniquely yours, things that no one else does. And that's when I came up with the church lady hats and like the Kwanzaa stories. Nobody else.
Right. Nobody else touched it. Nobody touched it for you.
So you met Charles Schultz.
Oh yeah, we buddies. We were good.
Oh, I envy you. Gosh.
I mean, he was a nice guy, real nice guy. Most of the cartoonists I have met, I've had the fortune to meet, have been the nicest people.
Yeah.
We are all approachable. People sometimes say they're sort of intimidated because the level of fame we have, and I don't think one of us cartoonists actually knows the level. We don't think about it. We're just doing what we do.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. I get intimidated when I see a famous cartoonist. I'm always like, yeah, I went to a cartoonist convention and I couldn't speak to some cartoonists because I was too shy and stuff. And I kind of kick myself in the head now for that and stuff. So
See, everyone will speak to you. Now, the only different cartoonist that I didn't meet that showed a different side of his behind was this guy, Scott Adams.
oh,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, there's only 2 minutes left. Do you want to continue that story when I download this video? Because I don't know,
Okay.
do you want to say it in 2 minutes or do you have time? Or do you want to do a longer thing on Scott
Well,
Adams?
I can do it. I can wrap it up right quickly. You know, Scott Adams turned out to be a big ass.
He did.
That's in a nutshell. For him to say stuff he did about black folk and black cartoonists, it was reprehensible.
Yeah.
The man has everything. He had everything, books, everything. 1,000 newspapers. He was on top of his game, but black folk bothered him.
Yeah.
That was the oddest thing. And the good thing about it is some of the papers that dropped him picked me up.
Oh, they
Oh,
did.
fantastic. Fantastic.
I
So,
actually kind of felt sad about that because I used to like his comic strip in the 90s and stuff. And when I read about it, I was so sad and stuff.
well, let me tell you this also, and this is one thing that Walt sort of referred to. I liked cartoonists who really knew how to draw.
Yeah.
So I did not read Dilbert.
Yeah. Ray, you just like me. I call him a minimalist.
Yeah.
He was a minimalist cartoonist, and that's why I knew it had to be well written to be so popular. But I never was drawn to it because of the drawing style. I was never a fan. But he had something on the ball, evidently, and he just shot himself right in the foot.
Well, you know what it is that because I live in Silicon Valley, that's sort of the life of many engineers and stuff. And so that's what attracted me to Dilbert in the 90s because I just knew my wife's an engineer and stuff. And so I knew when they read his strip, the office situation, they knew about it and stuff. So, but yeah, I was sad about when I read the controversy and stuff. And I thought, oh, geez, but I noticed in some of your cartoons, you're very critical of Black Trump supporters and stuff. I've noticed you've done a few cartoons on that. Now, I've met a few Asian Trump supporters, and I've had some difficult conversations with them. And
I'm sure you have.
Is this a conflict that's growing in the Black community with the Trump supporters within the community, or?
We do know they exist, but so far as being a major problem, I don't think so at this point. I don't know. All my friends are educated and woke. I don't know any Trump supporters. Not one.
I guess the only reason I'm asking is because you did a few cartoons on it. And
I'm on them all. I'm on their case all the time, and I'm waiting for somebody to ask them. And I've done a couple of cartoons on it. What is it that the extreme right, the militia types, the Proud Boys, the neo-Nazis see in Trump that somehow you don't see as a Black person?
Yeah.
What is the attraction? Why do they adore him and you falling in line? What is it? What's not coming together? That bothers the hell out of me and a lot of people I know. We don't understand it.
Yeah. Right. Number 2 right here.
Don't understand.
I just don't get it. I don't get it. But we do know they exist. I don't know any either, but the small section of the population that you see on TV, they're not talking for all of us. They try to make it seem like it's a lot of us. It's not. Okay. We know the deal. We know what's up. We hear, we see. They tell us not to believe what we hear, not to believe what we see, and that's bull. Black folks, we know it. We see it. We live, and we have lived through it. So we're not fooled that way. Sometimes I wonder if some of the people who are going on camera are only saying that because they want a little attention.
And the check.
Yeah, it's a
And
little
the check.
grab. Right, it's a
And the
grab.
check. I can name a whole bunch of them. Because I did editorial cartoons, I had to look at Fox News, Newsmax, and thank God One American News is gone. I believe in that old Godfather adage: keep your enemies close, but your enemies, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. You got to know what they're thinking.
Yep.
So we do know they exist.
Yep.
And I want somebody, I never hear anybody say this on TV, when they come down on wokeness, just ask them, what's the opposite of woke? If you're not woke, what are you? You are asleep.
Sleep.
And we have never been asleep.
That's right.
Yeah.
When the first time those chains were put on us and we hit the shores, we've been trying to figure how to get from under. So we've always been woke.
Right.
And that's what it's all about, being woke and knowing your history and being aware of all the schemes and strategies that have been used for years, for decades, to keep that foot on your throat, on your neck. So you got to be woke.
You see now what they're trying to do with banning books. You know, they're trying to ban history, and even worse, they're trying to erase history, as if, you know, we're just supposed to get over it.
Yeah, well, history happened, and history ain't therapy. And I know you don't want your kids to feel uncomfortable, but the truth of it is, history is good, bad, it always has been, and you can't sugarcoat it or whitewash it. I'm thinking about a cartoon right now of some white kids and a white teacher, and on the blackboard it says U.S. history, and it's only going to be 3 subjects on it: U.S. history. It's going to say Emancipation Proclamation, the 1950 desegregation bill, and Obama. That's 3 things. Think about all them gaps in between.
Yeah.
They don't want to go into detail.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing that scares me is that if you don't know history, you're going to repeat the mistakes.
Hello.
Yeah.
And now, with all the technology, those mistakes will be tenfold.
Absolutely. Good point.
They could spread it even faster, you know, to a bigger audience.
So they're doing a hell of a job today with just the Newsmax, Fox News, and Twitter. That's 24/7, 7 days a week propaganda. And these people do every day until it becomes something they believe. And it's false.
Yeah.
And remember, on Fox News, they admitted that they lied.
Oh yeah, but it was about the Benjamin. It was about the money. It's about the.
This is one of my questions. Is I guess I was going to ask it later, but I might as well ask it now. You know, I've been, you know, me personally, I've been very scared at the rise in white nationalism, and I've been scared at the threats of democracy, both here and in the Philippines. There's stuff going on too that scares me. I think for both of you, have you both been scared, and have you used your comic strips and editorial cartoons to address some of those issues?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now, you know, Walt does it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't do it all the time. I have to be a little clever when making points, because since it's so mainstream, you know, I'll get 1,000 letters saying that I did something wrong, even though that doesn't bother me. I really don't care. You know, once comic history is done, it's done. I cannot change it.
Yeah.
But I try to get some subtle ideas across. If you really read into it, which a lot of people do, they can see the broad statement I'm making. I'm actually working on a series now about banned books, and I already know it's going to cause trouble. But you know what? I invite it sometimes. I tend to think of this, that my audience, the readers, I think they're very smart.
Yeah.
So, they're not like the average readers who read, hokey dokey stuff. So I think they catch on to the point I'm trying to make.
Okay. Good.
And Walt, we got to do it. We're back from that.
And I don't try to be subtle about it. I come right, I want to smack them right across the head. I want to do what political cartoonists are supposed to do. That's gore the ox.
But is that the difference though? Is that the difference between a comic strip and an editorial cartoon? An editorial cartoon can hit you in the head, whereas the comic strip must be more subtle. Is that the difference?
Most likely, yeah. Remember, editorial does it in one panel, so they strike right away. Bam.
That visual is so strong. You get to.
That's right.
It's just like I didn't mention it. I didn't show it in the first series, but just like my book.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That cartoon on the front between the judge and the white guy selling the pallet of cocaine getting 18 months, and the brother, one packet of crack, he got 5 years. I wish I had changed that to 10 years.
Right.
But that visual alone says it all.
Yeah.
Says it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ray, if you want to show your book cover too, that's okay.
I didn't have a new book cover to show you.
I want to give you both equal time. So don't.
I don't have it right next to me. So, I mean,
no,
it's cool. It's cool.
When we started out, I realized that the box that my my laptop is sitting on is full of cartoons. I had to run upstairs and get this book to bring it back.
Oh, okay. So it's probably good that we had our break, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that kind of leads to a question I had for Ray and stuff in terms of like your comics. I read in your comment in the internet, your comic strips sometimes deal with serious subjects. So like bullying, smoking addiction, all gentrification.
Right.
Okay. This is sort of a two-part question. The first part, does the comic strip give you a chance to do more nuanced commentary since you're able to do it over several days? And the second part, since you have such likable characters that the readers have a long-term relationship with, does your commentary kind of hit them more personally since they have more of an emotional attachment to the readers?
I think they do.
I think so too. That's a good point.
Yeah, what's going through, what the characters are going through, it draws the readers in since they're such loyal people, and I think it affects them also. They listen, and in terms of seriousness, I try to play it lightly, but like I say, if you could really read the message behind it, you see, I'm not messing around. I'm telling it straight on out, but I just do it in a nice way. The thing of it is, with Curtis being just 11 years old and the main characters between 8 and 11, I get to say a lot more and get away with it than I would their parents. If I just use adults, I did that with my first comic strip, Looking Fine. They were all 20-something, and they made comments about drugs and, all the sorts of taboo things that you shouldn't. Matter of fact, Doonesbury was doing well. And I came along and I said, why can't I do Doonesbury stuff? I was in my 20s and, you couldn't tell me nothing. And I wanted to touch on some things that were happening in society, and it scared the hell out of editors. So that's why the strip only went 2 years, because there was a lot of bickering back and forth. They didn't want me to do something or say something. And I'm like, look, I'm Black, I'm in my 20s. This is coming out. I'm not drawing Nancy or High and Low. It's funny. They say, well, Black cartoonists are angry. First of all, we have the reason to be angry.
Hello.
But two, we're not actually expressing all that angriness all the time.
Yeah.
We're just making points, which is different than just being pissy angry.
Right. And what you've just pointed out is, I often tell people, any cartoonist, you're looking for that laugh, that belly laugh, a chuckle, a smile. But the subject matter that I deal with is so dire on so many levels that sometimes it's hard to find humor. in everything that I draw. But if I can inform you, if I can educate you, and perhaps hopefully even inspire you and make you think, then I'm satisfied with the effort that I made. And the best example of that is when my book came out. I still go to the gym 3 days a week. And the day before my first book signing, I was talking to there's a bunch of us, we sit around the lounge solving all the world's problems, Black, white, Asian, you name it. There should be more interaction like that.
Yeah.
And if you can't stand to talk politics and race, then you can't sit with us, okay? Anyway, when I announced that I was having my book signing about a collection of my cartoons that appeared in Black newspapers across the country, I'm not gonna call his name, but one of the regulars, a white guy, retired psychology professor from the University of Maryland, he looked up at me and said, Black newspapers? Right away, I knew he didn't even know they existed. So I said, okay, this is gonna be a teachable moment. I said, yes. I said, there are over 200 Black newspapers in the country.
Right.
And I said, over the years, it's been quite apparent to me that you never see Black people in political cartoons on the editorial pages of the mainstream press unless it's something negative or catastrophic. You never see our spin, our take on global and national issues that impact the Black condition in America.
Right.
And so that's why I started doing the editorial cartoons, to see how we feel about different things that affect us. And that, like I said again, he brought the book 2 days later. He probably maybe brought it on Monday. He saw me Wednesday and said, Walt, he said, there was one of those cartoons in your book that made me think about something that I never thought about before. And that's when I knew, at least with one person, I was successful.
Yeah.
He thought about something he never thought about before.
Right.
And I had it's a cartoon on page 73. I remember that much, of a white guy with a Confederate flag T-shirt, a Nazi, a swastika on his arm, a MAGA cap, and he had a sign saying, "Rednecks and hillbillies, we love Trump."
Yeah.
And he also was saying to this girl who has on a Black Lives Matter T-shirt, he's saying, "We feel marginalized." She said, "Really? Try victimized, traumatized," with a whole bunch of minds. As a matter of fact, I hadn't been in such a hurry, I could have added about 2 or 3 more.
Yeah.
And he said he never thought about what we deal with on a daily basis, that they never think about.
Yeah. I think it's not within their experience.
The thing they don't know is that we do have a different experience.
Yeah.
That's why we're not doing the Garfields and the Marmadukes, because our experience growing up has been different. We've been tested over and over. We're tested as children. Yeah. Teenage years are no better. The 20s, it's all been a struggle. So of course it comes out in the work. Right. You know, it's got to come out that way. This is the way we're letting out some of our frustration and our people's frustration. We're all connected. Walt, I, all Black folk, we all know the same thing. We can just look at each other and we know what each other is thinking. Because of the experience. But see, a lot of the non-white, non-Blacks don't really know about that. Just like he said, the guys didn't even know that it existed. I was trying to push for an animated cartoon, and I was talking with some people about it, and I said, hey, have you seen the show Blackish? And you could hear crickets.
Yeah.
And I said, of course you don't know it. Of course. You know, here I am in a sea of pale white. Of course you don't know it. So there's nothing to go. They barely knew Everybody Hates Chris. And I mean, that was a big hit eons ago when they were younger. They still didn't know it. So then I get them back though, because I mean, I've never seen the episode of Friends. So when they start talking about Friends, I say, I like the episode that had the funny Black guy in it. And because there hasn't been one, you know, so they get it.
That's been criticized lately in an article in the Post about the absence of Blacks in any of those Friends, as popular as it was. They had no Black friends or associates, not even co-workers. You know, that's how bad it was.
I mean, just about every hit is like that. That's the bad part. I mean, you can go to Seinfeld, you go Big Bang Theory. I mean, it goes up and down the board, which is sad. One time I was doing a talk with these other people, other cartoonists, and someone from the audience asked me, why do I do a Black strip? and uh-oh, got a little problem.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
What were you
Uh,
saying?
they asked me, why do I do a black strip? And I said, are you kidding me? Are
Yeah,
you kidding me? I said that we need representation. I said everything that you say is a hit. Every strip you say is a hit doesn't have any representation at all. And mind you, not black, not Spanish, not anything. So I had to tell him this is why I do what I do. You could hear pin drop again because
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
a realization that comes over them that they should have noticed all the time. I mean,
yeah.
it's blaring. It's right in the face.
Yeah, I'm curious. This is not one of the questions I had, but it's the question that popped up in my head because you're talking about you know, the importance of this is sort of like a continuation of the importance of representation, right? I'm wondering. I noticed with Eric Garcia as a Hispanic cartoonist and David Brown as a black cartoonist. I noticed with both of those cartoonists, they don't just use their cartoons to make points. They try to use their cartoons to teach history and
Yes,
stuff, right? And I know
right,
I know Walt was saying how you're not some things are just not funny and stuff.
yeah,
Like when I do my cartoons and stuff, some of the things going on in the Philippines and the Filipino American community, like extrajudicial killings and all of this stuff, are just not funny and stuff.
right,
But my thing is just to try to get people to see there's something going wrong here. We
yeah.
got to find out. And I'm wondering, is your cartoons also a means of like educating people on like the wider audience on like okay, if we're going to be banning history, I'm going to put some history in my cartoons.
Oh yeah,
If if
yeah.
if we're, you know, if we're dealing with certain issues, I'm going to put these issues in my cartoons because nobody else is talking about it and stuff.
Right.
Do you both of you see your cartoons as sort of education tools as well as humor, I guess?
Well,
Absolutely.
I
Go
try.
ahead.
Yeah, I know I try, and it's funny. I don't have like a big circle of friends, but the friends I have, I sometimes confide in, and I'll draw something up, and I tell them right away. I said, I know this is going to cause trouble. I know it is because it's informative.
Yeah,
It's something
yeah,
that
yeah,
I'm getting through, and it's not a gag. It's something that people need to know. And I figured this way, since I have the platform, I have an obligation to do this.
There you
You
go.
know, I just have to do it.
yeah,
Obligation. I love that word. That's the same way I feel. And
Yep.
any chance I get to educate, I will, and I do, because one of the most satisfying things for me now at 90 is I'm still finding out some things. And I read. The reason I contribute to PBS is I've learned so much on those PBS documentaries about Black history and about the world itself.
yeah, yeah,
And anything that I can come up with, I like to impart to my audience as often
Yeah.
as I can. And if I can add some humor or you know, a laugh or two attached to it, fine. But if not, I'll find a way to get it over. But I've just informed you of something that you were not aware of.
yeah. I'm curious, Walt. Even though you're retired, it sounds like you miss editorial cartooning.
I do miss it, and I mean you
He
couldn't get
does.
anything any
He
easier. I
does.
only
Yeah,
had to do one a week.
I know. You keep on talking about, but you know what?
I'm also
I have an idea for another
I'm
cartoon.
also lazy. My wife has had any number of conversations with my mother before she passed, but the only thing she remembers is my mother telling her, "Watch him, he's lazy." But I still I've got about 3 cartoons upstairs now that I'm working on that I'm going to pass on to them in the next few weeks. And whenever it strikes me, I'll be doing that. But I think I feel a little bad about the fact I feel like I quit. But actually, the reality is my eyesight is failing. It's not as good as sharp as it used to be for close up work and what have you.
Hmm.
And my hand is still steady, but I noticed in my lettering something I had something to do with my eye hand coordination or something.
Hmm.
And but I feel like a quitter sometimes. You know what I mean? But I mean, I've been cartooning over 6 decades. So that's a pretty long time.
Yeah,
You know?
that's quite a
Yeah,
that's
that's
quite an
wonderful.
achievement.
I,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
yeah. You know, you know, you know. I'm. This is just a quick question, but do you guys do brush? when you do your, inks and stuff, or do you
That was
guys
one of
do?
the questions I was prepared for because you asked how do we draw our cartoons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whenever you hear about cartooning, when it's referred to, pen and ink, I started out pen and ink.
Yeah.
But when I talked about the blessings that I've had over my lifetime, when I first started working in the graphics section at Social Security Administration, I had the good fortune of having a cartoonist, white guy named Ken Ostrander. Hell of a nice guy. He was a cartoonist and he used a brush. I mean, he could write. I always said he could write the Lord's Prayer on a nail head. This cat, but I used to, whenever I would finish an assignment, I would always be over at his drawing table to the point where I got self-conscious. And I actually asked, I said, Ken, I hope I ain't bugging. He said, listen, he said, anytime you have a question, and he was a great guy. And I learned so much from him. And I switched from a pen to a brush. And that's what I've been using all these years.
Well, two of your heroes, Will Eisner and Milton Caniff, didn't they both use brushes?
They both use brushes, yeah.
See, I just do a regular pen and ink.
Yeah.
I'm a traditionalist, and I use a pro quill so that the thickness or the thinness of the line just depends on the pressure that I put on it.
Right. I've used that for a while.
I don't like good lines. Cartoons, so I mean, you have to really look closely, and you see, I go from thin to thick really easily.
No, but you both have great pen lines and stuff. Your lines are great. Both of you.
We've been doing it a long time. But a lot of people don't realize his strip. I didn't realize it until maybe the last time he and I were on a Zoom interview. This strip has been around over 30 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time. 30 years.
I have to say, you both still look, fairly young. So don't worry.
Well, when people tell me that, I say I try to stay in soft lighting.
Okay.
Let me tell you, I got my worst insult a couple of years ago. I was on the subway in New York, and I was coming back to Stanford, and I was standing on the train, and a young lady got up and offered me her seat. I said, "Oh no. But did not take that seat. Took the seat and let her stand."
You sound like my son, who will be 68 in November. And he got insulted a few years ago when a woman asked him if he had a senior discount card. He really got ticked.
Well, me, I'm 56 now. My birthday was last week.
You look great, man.
But I kept telling I have my AARP card now.
Yeah.
I take all of these vitamins. Before this Zoom meeting, I had to make sure to use the bathroom and stuff because
Well, that sounds like something that I had to do.
And my memory is not as good as it used to be. I keep thinking, I see people and when you say somebody's name a million times, sometimes I look at somebody and I blank out on their name, and it's kind of like, I'm getting old and stuff.
I went through that last night because I didn't know. I have on a Morgan State University sweatshirt, which you cannot see, but the Morgan State, you've seen it now. But if you're able to see it, you may have said something, and I was trying to think of some prominent names of Morgan grads, and I couldn't think of a guy I knew so well, who was the founder of Black Enterprise magazine. He was at Morgan, Earl Graves. I had to ask my wife what his name was as long as I know. And of course, I played football in Morgan, so I did play ball with New York Giants left tackle for years, Roosevelt Brown. That's my only claim to fame. I played on the same team with Roosevelt Brown. And he went to, you remember Roosevelt? He went to Morgan State.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I don't know. Where's Morgan State? Where is that?
It says in Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh, okay.
HBCU, historically Black college, in Baltimore, Maryland. And he came on as a late round draft. And one of the most interesting stories about that is the draft back in 40s and the 50s was not as big and promotional as they are today. It was just owners sitting around in a room in their office with film, no tapes, film, letters of recommendation, movies, and newspapers. And they saw the Pittsburgh Courier, Black newspaper, who later became one of my clients, ran my cartoons. every year they would come up with a historically Black college All-American team. And it happened to be a Philadelphia, happened to be a Pittsburgh Courier on the table. And they looked in the sports section, and there was the team, and there was a guy named Roosevelt Brown, 6'3", 6'4", 240, all CIAA for 2 years. And they took a fly on him, and he's in the Hall of Fame, 12 years.
Yeah.
Is that Canton?
You know about him, Ray.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I didn't know you played with him.
Oh, yeah. That's the only claim of fame I have. I ran track and I played football, but I played with Roosevelt.
No, but
Brown.
no, your claim of fame is kind of you're a longtime cartoonist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's the legacy.
Yeah.
You're a unique person.
Yeah. No, this is a quick question and stuff, because since we talked about, I'm just really curious about your schedules and stuff. It's like, for the comic strip, what is your schedule? And for Walt, before you retired, what was your schedule for the editorial cartoon? I'm just curious.
Actually, because I only had to do one a week, I would come up with ideas, and let me back it up. Now, I'll answer part of the question that you brought up before about how do I spend my time. For an old geezer, I'm really very active. Okay, I'm a social animal. I still love to dance. I tap dance. I'll turn on YouTube, and I'm crazy about South African music. Lately, I've been dancing to something called Waya Waya. I'm gonna hurt myself one of these days, but I go to the gym 3 days a week: Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Tuesdays and Fridays, I eat out with my crew, my posse. These old guys, old timers that I've been hanging out with for years. Every Tuesday, I'm at the Golden Corral, and the Friday group, we rotate around different. So 5 days a week, I'm out of the house.
Yeah.
So I had to work my schedule around that. And the main reason I brought that up is I know some of the funniest sketches you ever want to meet. I steal from them. They will even tell me if something comes up funny, they'll say, I know we're going to see that again. And you're right. So essentially, I have always stayed. That's the only thing that bothered me during the pandemic. It really had an impact from that standpoint of keeping me in for a while. And I had to make that adjustment. Yeah. Now, but Ray, I'm interested. I want to hear your schedule, because that's got to be a grind, man.
Doing the comic strip is a grind. I mean, let me show you this. This is what I was working on before.
Oh, cool.
Now, I mean, this is still in the beginning stage. I just started inking it, but right. I mean, I got 3 of these set for next week. So I mean, it's always something. I guess the sunlight here might be blocking it, but
now I can see it.
That's the way it starts out.
That's what scared me when I got that response from creators back in the early 90s. That's what scared me.
I was working on that before we got on. And after we get off, I got to go back to work on it again.
Oh yeah. Well, the meeting thing says 8 minutes left, so you'll be working on it.
I'm glad I came. I'm glad I came back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh well, you want to finish, or because I think my last question is just going to be like, what do you love about being a cartoonist, and what do you, since you both have been cartoonists for several years, what do you love about being a cartoonist, and with the decline in newspapers, what do you see as the future of comic strips and editorial cartoons? So if you guys can say that in 8 minutes, but I'll let you know when it's the 1 minute point.
Okay. All right. Walt, you can.
I've always loved drawing, first of all, from the very first time I ever picked up a pencil. And then along the way, I got the encouragement from my parents, who used to buy me tracing books and the whole 9 yards. I got into comic books. We used to trade them as a kid when I lived in the projects in Baltimore. And I continued in school, and I went to art school for 2 years in Philadelphia Museum of Art. But when it came down to the cartooning, I think there's a mesh between cartooning and humor and my personality. I love to laugh. Best free tonic in the world is laugh. Yeah. And I love to laugh, and I love to make people laugh. And now to the point where I got one group, they'll say, I'll tell them a story, and I'm full of stories. I ought to write a book. They'll say 2 stories. So it just gives me, I get a lot of satisfaction with cartoon. And I'm a messenger. That's the key.
That's it.
That's message.
it. Being able to spread your message to the whole population, I think that's the biggest kick out of it. Once it leaves your home, you don't know where it's going. You don't know who it's going to touch. And that's marvelous. That's wonderful. I guess in that way, we're like actors or singers or anyone like that. We play to an unseen audience.
Great way to put it.
Of course, some people won't like us, but a lot of people do. And those are the people that we're reaching for. Now, one of the things I really love about cartooning is making my own hours. I can get up late, but I do have to put in the time. So it's not like I'm getting away with anything. I might be up to 2, 3 in the morning trying to complete something.
Right.
But it's an innate satisfaction that I get from not only having this platform, but to have people read it and like it.
Oh.
Well put. Well put.
Yeah. Well, thank you both. We still have 6 minutes. Do you have any last words besides that, or?
Okay. Let's see. For inspiration, want to tell the people, young and old out there, that this is not a job for the meek. If you cannot handle criticism and things like that, because we got a lot of people now who are very soft. And if you say you don't like something, then there's, they either want to block you or they're ready to jump out the window. This is not the kind of industry for you if you're not rough and tough. Like Walt, you got to like to laugh. You got to like to spread stories, but you got to have a thick skin too.
Yeah.
Okay? We both have thick skins because of the thing of we didn't get it placed in front of us. A lot of people have it a lot easier today because they can just post it, and that was not given to us coming up. We had to pass certain tests just to be noticed. So I just want to tell the young people or the older people, whatever, this is a job you got to stick to. This is a job that takes real dedication. Yeah. So if you can put up with that kind of schedule, that kind of hard work, then welcome to the fold.
Yeah.
If not,
well, I say find something you love to do, and you'll never work a day in your life.
That's right.
One of the best ways to put it in a very succinct manner is to find something, not necessarily cartoon, but whatever it is.
Right.
Find something that you enjoy and do and you find exciting on a daily basis. You'll never work a day in your life. And when I came to Social Security, I got in there on the strength of my portfolio. I didn't know beans about graphic design, layout design, typography, camera-ready artwork for slides, training aids, exhibit design, because we had to give the SSA messages throughout the nation in different forms. It was like getting paid to eat ice cream. I was going to school. I was learning every day. And it was exciting to go to school. And then on top of that, a guy on staff as a cartoonist, do the work. That's what I tell young people. Do the work. I don't care what it is. Do the work.
Yeah. I think that's part of it is just the craftsmanship. You work on your craft. And I think for me, the thing that I admire about you both is that you hit the pavement and stuff. I just lost my I was telling Walt, I just about 3 weeks ago, the newspaper I do my cartoons for let me go because they're not earning enough money anymore and stuff. So now I'm going to have to learn to hit the pavement too. But listening to you two kind of inspires me and stuff. So thank you.
So mind you, you could easily hit the pavement now by computer. When we hit the pavement, we hit the pavement. We had to walk, bike, take a car, take a train, visit different magazine, newspaper. We had to go there.
Yeah.
So hitting the pavement now is a lot different. You sit back, you download, you send it off.
Yeah.
So it's so
But
much.
I'm from the old school. You send out 8 to 10 cartoons in what they call batches.
Oh yeah.
Out, and then they would send a really nice standardized rejection letter.
You
and
remember
then once in a while
Ebony.
You would hit, and stamps were a lot cheaper then too.
You remember Walt doing Ebony magazine?
Yep.
You had to send at least 8 to 10 cartoons, and you might get one.
Yeah, right.
And the rest are all rejected. I had a big stack of cartoons that were rejected that I thought was pretty good, man.
Pretty good, yeah.
So they didn't
Well, I
see.
often bring up your name whenever I talk to somebody. When I'm hustling my book, like up in Martha's Vineyard every summer,
Yeah.
I always look at people, and if I see gray hair, I'll say, "Well, you probably got some old Ebony magazines home, or your mother and father do."
Right.
I
Right.
was a contributor to the Strictly for Laughs page, and the guy who draws Curtis, Ray Billingsley, he and I want I use your name or not.
That's right.
Well, I want to thank you both. It's about a minute 20 left, and but I've Ray, if I take the train to go to a publisher, and if a girl asks me for her seat, I'll remember to say no. So